Namaste and welcome to the Jothishi YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about an interesting topic, which is an upcoming product from the Jothishi portfolio, which is going to help you determine when is the next Muhurta for marriage. So let's say you're 25 now and you decided to get married in the next 2 years. All you need to do is just input your details with regards to date of birth, place of birth and time of birth, and the product will tell you is there a probable time frame or what are the most probable time frames in the next 2 years when you would get married. When a person decides to get married, Anand,
Yes.
the most pertinent question is when is the probable time frame for marriage?
Yes.
Right. So how can Vedic astrology or you as a Vedic astrologer guide the person with regards to finding out when is the next muhurta, right? Muhurta
Yes.
is the right word. When is the
Yes.
next muhurta for marriage to happen?
Yes. So, as per Vedic astrology, there are various methods to figure out timing of marriage. So, we'll discuss a few. So, the first method is the third house, seventh house, and the 11th house are known as Kama Trikona. So, it represents your physical compatibility, spiritual, and emotional compatibility. So, the first method is when the lords of these houses, their dashas or antardashas are operating, it is giving us one key point to figure out when is the marriage going to happen in that particular time frame. So first of all, you decide your time frame when you want to get married.
Right.
So you may decide that you want to get married from 27 to 30 or maybe 24 to 27, and that time frame, when one of these lords are kind of operating or their dashas operating or antardashas operating, that actually denotes one of the
Key indicators.
key indicators for marriage. So that is one method.
Okay.
The second method is called the transit method. So you try and figure out the transit of Saturn, you try and figure out the transit of Jupiter, then a transit of Mars, and then finally transit of the seventh lord. So these four transits, when they are operating on your first house or ascendant lord or seventh house or the seventh lord, when they are operating in these four pointers and they are conjunct, these four lords are conjunct or making an aspect or kind of a thing, that is the time frame when marriage kind of thing will happen. So what happens is Saturn transit reduces the time frame to about 2.5 years, Jupiter to 1 year, then you have Mars to about 6 months, then you have a 45 days time frame for the seventh lord.
Okay.
So these four indicators, when they are combining together, you get a good accuracy in terms of a marriage date predictor kind of a thing.
So let's go back to the first scenario, right?
Yeah.
You said the Kama Trikonas.
Yes.
Now let's say I don't have the Antardasha running for the Kama Trikonas.
Yes.
So does that mean that I will not get married during this time frame?
No, not necessary. So the condition is either the dasha or the antardasha.
Okay.
So one of those or pratyanta dasha, one of those conditions gets satisfied, then it is a sort of one of the key pointer methods to kind of figure out. The third method is you figure out your yearly chart for that particular year. It could be either a solar chart or a lunisolar chart kind of a year.
Okay.
And you chart that particular year's chart, and there you find out whether there are some changes. Marriage definitely has to denote some changes, right?
Right.
So the changes could be completely shifting from bachelorhood to a married kind of a life. Changes could be shifting from a place to another new place. Shift in terms of the emotional love, the factor in your chart is increasing, so the Venus is getting exalted. So we can easily figure out various factors which denotes that particular change in your life. And based on that change, you figure out whether that particular year, and then you sort of go into different months based on the...
So now the next pertinent question is, when is there a yoga for, like you said, you look at these particular aspects, right? should one also look at increasing the time frame of when they get married based on the planetary positions? Like, for example, if this year is not a great year,
Yes.
but 2 years later is a very good year.
Yes.
Is it that the quality of the I wouldn't say quality, is it that the type of person who is most suitable will come at that point of time?
Yes.
Is that how it works? Can you
Yes, so
give us some?
in a particular time frame, suppose you decide to get married from 27 to 30, and say you have 5 good pointers in this particular
Right.
time frame, and the chart clearly denotes which are the good pointers in that particular chart. So, from a Vedic astrology perspective, when the time is good, or the chart clearly denotes that the time frame is good. When the time frame is good, your possibility of getting a better match from a Vedic perspective is
More
higher.
compatible match.
Yes,
Yes.
it's a more compatible match from a
Right.
timing perspective and a match perspective as well. So your probability of getting a more better spiritual partner is more higher.
Okay. So it is ideally good to consult an astrologer and find out, is there a good time frame that one can
Yes.
look
yes.
out for, and then plan their marriage accordingly.
Yes.
Unless it is a love marriage,
Yes.
if they are going for the arranged marriage, then they can plan their marriage accordingly.
So marriage is an event
Right.
in a particular person's life, and that event is clearly denoted in the chart, whether it irrespective of it being a arranged or a love marriage.
Okay.
Now there are certain cases where the chart or the strength of the chart may not show that particular event. For example, you have been dating for a long time, and then the relationship is going on for a long time. So these, or another case could be your family is not reasonably happy in the relationship, or one of the partners is not happy in that particular relationship. Those kind of things will be clearly denoted in the chart, and hence the exaltation of the time frame we will not be able to easily catch.
Okay.
So otherwise, if it is an event, and most of them 80, 85, 90% of the cases we should be able to catch that event,
Okay.
because that shows an exaltation in that particular person's
Life.
chart
Okay.
and life. And if that exaltation is there, we just need to nip that time frame and then figure it out, like we are doing in our product development, right?
Right.
So the process is very clear. You test whether the product is working for anybody who is married, for your parents, for your uncle, and if the time frame is correct, it is going to be correct for you as well.
Yes.
So from that perspective, that event is a exaltation period where we can easily find it out from the chart kind of a
Okay.
perspective.
So, what the product that you are talking about, so essentially looks at, now let's say I want to get married in the next 2 years.
Yes.
I can just come input my date of birth, place of birth, and the time of birth.
Yes.
And select an age range.
Yes.
Right? Based on the age range, then you will tell me what are the most probable months for marriage.
Yes.
Is that how it
Yes.
works?
So the product will clearly figure out the month and year of marriage, and most probable month and year of marriage in the time frame that you have inputted. Okay. Because you decide when you want to get married.
Right.
So we cannot decide a person needs to get married in 21 years or 22 years or 27 years.
Right.
The person decides, and in that time frame, it gives a good month and a good year for that particular person's marriage kind of a thing.
Okay. So now I have decided to get married in the next 2 years.
Yes.
And let's say the output for me comes as March 2021,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Is it necessary that, let's say, the girl whom I am planning to get married to,
Yes.
should her timing also match?
So absolutely, there has to be a convergence from the couple's perspective. So suppose a person got married in the year 2000, and the wife and the husband's details, when you input in that time frame, there should be a convergence, and both of them should show a similar kind of a month and year.
Okay.
So that is absolutely necessary, and the product will kind of show that. So from a Vedic astrology perspective, if you notice that there have been various methods, and I think this is one of the biggest and greatest research that has been done to give a scientific validation for Vedic astrology. So what we are trying to say is that an event in your life, an important event in your life, is pre-predicted, pre-decided, and that is what we are kind of predicting here. And the person will know whether the result is right or wrong in the next 1 minute. Once you input the details, you will know in the next 1 minute.
Yes.
So you will probably
This is provided he is already married. That is what
yes,
you're saying.
yes. So you can easily check the results in the next 1 minute for your uncle or auntie or parents or whoever it is, and then your thing, if it is right for them, it should be right for you as well.
Yes.
So
Provided you have decided to get married.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So here, this is where the component of slightly free will comes into play,
Yes,
right? Where
yes.
once you decided to get married, then you can check
yes,
whether there is a muhurta for marriage in the upcoming
Yes.
year. So Anand, let's go back to your first point, right?
Yes.
Where you said first you look at the dasha,
Yes.
then you look at the second option is you look for, the yearly solar chart, lunar chart, right?
Yes,
And then
yes.
you figure out then there is
Yes.
marriage, right? Now, how has this product been developed? Is this a set of rules that an astrologer basically looks at predicting the marriage, and you've taught a programmer to program those rules and give you the output in a much more specific manner? Because there could also be a possibility that as an astrologer,
yes,
you might miss out a rule, right?
Yes.
Because there are about 300 odd rules that you need to look at to
Yes.
predict a person's marriage.
Yes.
So can you talk about maybe the accuracy of the product and how this rule-based engine has been
Yes.
developed?
So there are about 300 rules that we have kind of inputted in this output of this product, and then what happens is every person may or may not know the rules.
Okay.
So based on everybody's level of understanding of the subject, there are a certain level of rules that are created, and then there is a layer of sort of deep learning outside this rule-based engine. So the product on its own keeps on updating and learning itself. So that is the way the product is kind of developed and updated.
So another question that comes to my mind is, we are all anxious to know whether this person is the right person for me or not,
Yes.
right? Like going back, can I also use this while selecting, while proposals come and I'm
Yes.
deciding if this is the right girl or the right boy? Can I also use this to check that if there is a match coinciding in terms of the month output, right?
Yes.
Like if both of us are getting married next year
Yes.
in May or March, is there a higher possibility that we might get married?
Ideally, the best route is to use our Kundali matching engine,
Right.
and then figure out if there is a match. And so, as we discussed last time, is there a Samasapta Yoga? Is there mind, emotions, physical compatibility match, etc.? And then you figure out a convergence in terms of timing. Because timing, what happens is you may have more than 5 people where there may be convergence,
Okay.
but we don't know who is the right person for you. So, from a compatibility matching, if you finish that and then get into a convergence thing, it is a better way to go about it.
Okay. So you're saying first check the strength of the relationship and
Yes.
then come to time.
Yes.
So, like Anand mentioned, this is a more precise and a more predictive product. There are about 300 rules that have gone into building this entire rule engine. So the advantage of building a rule engine using technology is, as an astrologer, there could be a probability that one person might miss out a particular rule, but a rule engine will always ensure that a rule is never missed out, and which ensures that the product is more accurate and more predictive, right? So we would all encourage you to give this product a try. If you're another way to look at this is you might have your parents' date of birth or your uncle and aunt. What you could do is you could take their date of birth, place of birth, time of birth, input it, and see if there is a correlation to when they are getting married. And if there is a correlation, there is, like Anand mentioned, there is a high probability that your marriage could also be predicted in the same way because it is the same rule set that works for it. We would like to get your feedback of this product, and we will also give you the link to check the upcoming muhurta is in the description below. Thank you for watching the Jothishi YouTube channel.